So first of all, I'm going to start by saying the person that is going to be asking me the questions is my boyfriend. He flew all the way to California to pack me up and move me across the country, and then I wound up in the VA hospital, a shelter, and then I finally wound up in my own apartment, and now I am over here with him in his place. I will go ahead and ask me questions, but anyways, I want to help people to understand why I am where I am right now. All right.
All right, what inspired your move?
What inspired my move was you. My mood. I mean, my move was you. You said you wanted to be there with me and work things through with me, and you came out to California and drove us back here across country, where I blew it up.
What do you miss the most about California?
The name. I don't know. I don't miss anything really about California except for my kids.
How do you feel like you are adjusting to your new city?
I feel like I stand out like a sore thumb, and I've had to adjust to multiple cities in the last 6 months. So I'm adapting and overcoming.
How do you feel about the pace of life here, between here and there? Faster, slower, same?
For me, it's the same because it's like, I'm a writer that it works from home, so I don't really go out and do anything and party or live the life like people my age are doing.
What's been the hardest part about your transition?
What's been the hardest part about my transition? This time or the beginning?
About the transition to, I don't know, how would we say?
I guess I should start back by saying what the story of this is. It's like, basically, we've been dating for a while, and we decided that we wanted to get married, and he came to California, got my stuff and my things, and moved me across the country. So basically, we got here, and I started to have auditory hallucinations. And it got to the point where I was basically thinking that my fiance is or was with another woman on the back patio while I was in the other room. So ultimately, I did call the authorities to try to remove me because I was just, out of towner. And apparently, you can't just get a police escort out of a house. They basically sent the crisis unit, so there's that. And from there I went on to the VA and checked myself in. I went to the VA. I was in there for about 23 days. I was able to finally get medications and everything stabilized and able to stop having auditory hallucinations. And then I was picked up by a beautiful lady that works for one of the agencies, but she was just doing this as a favor for somebody that was in desperate need. And so basically from there I stayed in a shelter for about 3 months and worked my way up to becoming strong enough and resilient enough to get my own place. And I have my own place, and now I am here, and we're gonna see where it goes from here. So okay.
All right.
Rest of the questions.
So you've been through quite a bit in the last 6 months or so with all of this. What are some of the areas where you think you've grown the most?
Some of the areas that I think I've grown the most in the last 6 months, I would say I've grown spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically. I've grown. I mean, I was 94 pounds when I went into the VA, and I'm 122 right now. So I was complaining about not having weight on, and now I'm complaining about having it. I'm just never going to be happy, I guess. Just kidding. What was the question again?
What are some ways you think you've grown?
Some ways that I think I've grown. I think that other people see the growth in me before I see it. So The areas that I mentioned are the areas that I feel like I've grown in.
Are there any specific goals or opportunities you're pursuing with your change of residence?
Is there any goals and opportunities I'm pursuing?
Now
Yes.
that you've changed. Yeah.
I am getting a doggie, and I'm going to have her trained to be my service animal. Depending on how large she gets, she might become an emotional support animal, depending on how much training and everything will cost for her. What else was it?
That's all I got.
Did I answer the question though?
Well, the question was, are there any specific goals or opportunities you're pursuing now that you've moved to a new location?
Well, I definitely want to continue with mental health activities. I need to get back into groups and therapy, meet with my psychiatrist as often as possible, and continue to try and stick with my program of AA and reading the Bible and giving God all the glory always. And I feel like I continue to be blessed as long as I continue to give God the glory for all of this, because I was basically essentially losing my mind about 7 months ago. Let me see, it was probably June or July. But this all downward spiral started around June. I was already manic because it was my first time basically being sober and clean, and my daughter graduated from college, so I had to put a whole trip together and go up north, and that was hard for me. So I started with the mania in June, and then in July I made the good idea impulsively to just up and move across the country. So apparently my body was giving me warning signs that I was moving too fast, because once I stopped and went to the VA, got help for it, allowed myself to just be okay with being in there and be positive instead of negative about it, and let myself learn and grow from it and read and study all the things I could, then I started noticing that everything started to calm down and I started to see peace in my life. And that was the ultimate goal. So I've come to a point in my life where I realize I still want things and need things, but I literally think that I probably have everything that I've prayed for. I'm clean 4 years. I got off Suboxone almost 4 years ago in March. And August, August will be 4 years off of alcohol. So, and I've been off the streets for almost the entire year. I would say that I was off the streets, but I was in a homeless shelter. And there's more about that later, but that's about it. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the comments, and I will create an email maybe, so if anybody has any comments or questions they want to ask me privately, you might be able to email them to me. All right, any other questions for you, sir?
No, ma'am.
All right, well, I love you with the love of the Lord. May God bless you and keep you, and good night, good evening. Shalom.